Let's read from text 31 onwards. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles. And so there is no need for hesitation. Purport. Out of the four orders of social administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Kshatriya. Shat means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called Kshatriya. Trayate means to give protection. The Kshatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. A Kshatriya would go into the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. When the tiger is killed, it would be offered the royal order of cremation. That system is followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of the Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are specially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the order of sannyas or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy, but it is never a factor or principle. In the religious law books, it is stated that in the battlefield, a king or Kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets after sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrificed gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another. The Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attain heavenly planets, as do the Brahmanas who attain them by offering sacrifice. So there are two kinds of swadharma, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with the religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily conception of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. So, dharma is ordained by the Lord. That will be clarified in the fourth chapter. On the bodily plane, the Swadharma is Varnashrama Dharma, or man's stepping stone to spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnashrama Dharma, or specific duties in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of the higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. So the Lord is answering Arjuna's argument of how will I enjoy. So Arjuna is thinking the enjoyment is guaranteed by the presence of kinsmen. So Arjuna is thinking of enjoyment in terms of the presence or absence of the kinsman. But the Lord is telling a very deeper principle. The Lord is telling it is not kinsmen who ensure happiness. It is the principles of dharma which ensure happiness. So therefore the Lord's succinct answer is that it is the principles of dharma. If one adds the principles of dharma in one's material activities, then those material activities will guaranteed give enjoyment. That's what. So the Lord is explaining on all grounds, addition of these the religious principles, addition of the religious principles. So when religious principles are added, enjoyment is guaranteed. When person is so this is statement is true at all levels. At the material level also it is true, because the material level a person is obsessed with material enjoyment, so he adds in dharma, he gets a better and higher quality and more sustainable material enjoyment. But by adherence to religious principles, the other benefit what happens is heart gets purified. Heart gets purified, consciousness is elevated. When consciousness is elevated, one will enough. But because religious principles are already have been added in one's activities, those addition of those religious principles will ensure that not only there is material happiness for a person whose consciousness is elevated, there is spiritual happiness also. So that is how. So this is the progressive direction towards auspiciousness and happiness. The roadways is towards religious principles. So the Lord is telling, take the directionality from the roadways of the religious principles, and in that direction you start walking. And in that direction one walks, there is happiness, both material and spiritual. Both material and spiritual. So that's why we see that this section again they have these two aspects. When the material consciousness is prominent, the first few verses are adding that. So that's karma kanda or sakam karma yoga. Karma kanda, which actually moves on towards sakam karma yoga as one gets purified. And then there is nishkam karma yoga, where the spiritual quotient of happiness is or the spiritual consciousness is prominent. But the formula or the directionality is adding the religious principles. Now the point is what? Now the point is that varnashrama is see, the Lord is going to mention here. See, varnashrama. Now one may say, okay, is varnashrama obligatory? So varnashrama, is it obligatory? So now this question is answered by three. This question is answered for three kinds of devotees, or three levels of devotees. One is a devotee who is materially attached. Now for him, varnashrama is the only option for purification, because direct bhakti such a person will not be able to do. Because if bhakti is the now see, if in a building, if bhakti is the 16th floor, so a person will not be able to go to that level, right? It's like so that's difficult for a person who is materially attached. So by varnashrama, the heart will get purified, and the heart will get opened for bhakti to percolate. And so varnashrama is the only way. That's why it is called as stepping stone to spiritual understanding. For a little more elevated devotees, they can take to bhakti, the process of bhakti. But we see that many devotees who are practicing bhakti are also adhering to the principles of varnashrama very strictly. Now, Mr. Why is that? If varnashrama is a stepping stone to bhakti, then why is it like that? So then, once one goes to bhakti, then why is one clinging on to varnashrama? The second aspect is what? Varnashrama gives a good holder. Becomes varnashrama forms a good vessel to hold bhakti for a long time. So person may come to the level of performing bhakti, but for bhakti to stabilize, there needs to be a vessel. So varnashrama becomes a very good vessel actually to hold bhakti. So that's how it becomes a very nice syntax tank, can hold bhakti. Otherwise, the bhakti may, one may come to the level of bhakti, but may not be able to sustain, especially a sadhaka. Now, this is second level. Now, for those who are a little more advanced, so they are already, quite established in bhakti, but you see, they are also performing varnashrama very strictly. Now, the question is why they are performing varnashrama strictly? Because now, though they don't need a vessel, because they are not neophyte, means new sadhakas, they are steady, determined devotees with utsaha, nishya, dhairya. Why are they clinging on to the principles of varnashrama? So they cling to the principles of varnashrama to set an example for others, because a live example of bhakti with varnashrama is very attractive for new people, to give them faith that the process of Krishna consciousness works. Because new people, they don't understand the spiritual matrix, so they don't understand what works on the spiritual plane. They understand material matrix. So the material matrix is something what they can understand and appreciate. So when they see that, okay, now, so they have the tendency to evaluate the spiritual aspects from a material matrix, and the varnashrama gives a very nice material matrix. So therefore, many devotees still cling on to varnashrama to actually give a very practical demonstration to people that it is very much possible to live uh, 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 a life of spiritual intensity along with material prosperity, material stability. So that's why uh, so that's why clinging to varnashrama is a good principle. Clinging to varnashrama is a good principle. So that's why even the great acharyas, or for that matter the Supreme Lord also, go or exhibit their transcendental vibhuti on the tracks of varnashrama. If you see, Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, say for example, he did not so he went through the varnashrama track. He was an ideal grahastha. He was very responsible, very loving to his mother. He was loving all through, even after sannyas. But Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a scholar, and when he was a scholar, he was very committed to it. So when he was a scholar, he was very committed to it, and the Lord did it. So the Lord followed the varnashrama track. Similarly, Lord Krishna Chandra also follows the varnashrama track. So this but the key hallmark of the varnashrama dharma is what? The religious principles are the topmost priority in it.
Because the person who is maybe above this, but still that person is following, because otherwise some people prematurely or immaturely will imitate.
Yes.
And will give up varnashram.
Yes.
And then there will be a bad form. To set an example for them, even pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada was also following, everyone was following.
Yes, it's true. So therefore, we don't see any example of the acharyas exhibiting transcendental features over and beyond Varnashrama. See, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went on to be a magistrate for a good long time, and he was committed to his magistrate duties. So we see the acharyas, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, for this reason only, was not wanting to take Paramhamsa, kind of sannyas or Babaji sannyas or something. He wanted to become, he was wanting to take a lower degree of sannyas. Why? Because just to make the point. So the principle is that only. When nobody was taking the Parivarjakacharya sannyas, and the Babaji sannyas was considered the highest, but Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur took the lower order of sannyas for that purpose, the same purpose. So the acharyas are not showing some ecstatic symptoms over and beyond Varnashrama. And therefore the principles of Varnashrama, we see, are given importance and priority by the acharyas. Whichever varna or whichever ashrama. And this is one of the reasons why Lord Krishna is discouraging Arjuna. Because Arjuna is blowing up the entire structure and system of Varnashrama. So everyone has his commitment to a certain track or certain lane, and Arjuna seems to be blowing it up, and therefore the Lord is not encouraging him. Because this very idea that whatever I think right I can do is a diseased idea. And Arjuna is exhibiting this idea. Oh, I'm not feeling like fighting, so I'm feeling like going in the forest, I'll go to the forest. But the problem with feelings is the feelings will change. By the time he reaches forest, if he's allowed to, Arjuna, his feelings may change. He may feel like fighting then, But then there will be no opponent to fight, so he'll pluck out trees, Is it not? So the and the forest will not remain a forest. So the point is, you see, the feelings are the moods and feelings are quite transient. Dharma is much more deeper commitment than moods and feelings. So we don't base our life, the Lord is teaching here, don't base your life on whims and fancies, on moods and feelings. Today you feel like this, tomorrow you feel like that. We base our lives on commitments of Dharma, principles of Dharma. Yes, principles of Dharma can be testified, can be evaluated. There is no problem in that. But they need to be adopted or installed with a commitment. Loose installation will not be of much use. So the Lord is giving a two-sided answer to Arjuna. The Lord is saying, okay, if you think you have material attachments, then you should not give up fighting. So if you think you are materially attached, you should never give up fighting, because that is the way for material enjoyment. But now Arjuna may say, no, I am not that lowly. And then the Lord is going to say that, okay, if you think you are not so lowly, then you should not give up fighting. Because that is the desire of the Lord. So then where is the question of giving fighting? Is it not? So the Lord is answering on both these levels, and that's why the Lord is speaking here. So you see, text 32, let's read. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. As a supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. So you see, now Arjuna's statement clearly shows he is driving himself on whims and fancies and imagination. Now he's saying he's passing on a conclusion that I'll be in perpetual habitation in hell. Now who has testified it? Has he taken a certificate from Yamaraj on this? Who has testified this? No. This is Arjuna's own whims and fancies and imagination. So such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. Were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. See, for a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parashar Smriti or religious codes made by Parashar, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of the inimical kings, and thus with religious principles he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. So, fighting would be for his benefit in either case. So superficially we read this section, it may appear that here the Lord is saying fight, kill, no? That's all, no? And that is dharma. No? So things are not so naive as that. Uh, the Lord is basically, now in the very crux of it or the very essence of it, the Lord is telling Arjuna to adhere to dharma. Why the Lord is telling that one should be very much focused in the discharge of specific duty? Because every specific duty one is allotted or one undertakes in the in varnashrama, every specific duty is loaded with religious principles, and therefore giving up that duty is the philosophy of fools. So Arjuna was not just fighting no, as a Kshatriya. This was a dharma yuddha to establish the principles of dharma. So dharma is imbued in in the activity of the yuddha, and therefore there was no need of fear or imagination. So adherence to dharma ensures or no, gives a guarantee of auspiciousness, and therefore there is no scope of any imagination. So you see, imagination is not going to do any good. Why? Because now the varnashrama ensures that everyone is on the path of dharma. And when there is everyone on the path of dharma, then one doesn't have to worry what will happen in future and how it is going to work out and so on and so forth. So you see, now Arjuna, the Lord is telling Arjuna, okay Arjuna, if you win the battle, you will enjoy the kingdom. You can enjoy. If you lose the battle, you'll go to heavenly planets and enjoy. So Arjuna is saying, how will I enjoy? The Lord is telling both ways you will enjoy. You win or you lose. You live or you die. Now one may think, or Arjuna may think that, oh, I am not so fallen, that I am hankering after this material enjoyment. Yeah. Now, whether he is fallen or not, so now if Arjuna is not at all so fallen that he is only thinking about material enjoyment. Yes, but the Lord is still speaking it. Why the Lord is speaking it? Because the Lord is establishing a very important principle, and that important principle is that in no the you see the realization in bhakti may look very lofty, but the very foundation of all these lofty realizations in bhakti is always honesty. So the first principle the Lord is telling is that as a sadhaka one should be very honest. And therefore, the Lord is telling Arjuna to probe into his heart thoroughly to find out if there are, how much, and what all and how much of material desires are there. So that's why the Lord is talking from the most basic plane. And the Lord is saying, okay, don't assume that. So we should not assume that we have become Paramahamsas. Rather, one has to take inventory of his heart that, yes, okay, what material desires are there? And therefore, the Lord is telling, if you have material desires, don't worry, material desires will get benefited. If you fight. If there are material desires, better purify those material desires. That means have it in a pure setting, in an auspicious setting, the setting of dharma, the setting of yajna. So, in the first place, the Lord is teaching honesty, that better be first honest and not just have an artificial assumption that everything is okay. Better be first honest. And if there are material desires, then one has to work, one has to acknowledge. Like a diseased person cannot just say, oh, I am alright, I am not diseased. No, just by saying like that, it will not work out. First, one has to honestly and sincerely get himself diagnosed to really figure out what disease is there, how much serious it is, and that can decide the course of medication, prohibition, and lifestyle, and so on, environment, and so on. Hmm. 633. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Um,
Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including Lord Shiva. And after fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called as Pashupat Astra, Everyone knew he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could even kill his own teacher. So he was accredited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adoptive father, Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from the battle. Hmm. So, so in one sense, you see, there's this interesting thing. Now here it is being said, okay, Arjuna, he see the Lord is saying, Arjuna, you will lose your reputation. Now, it appears actually very mundane words, but actually, the principle the Lord is setting in is very, very powerful, because the Lord is setting foundations actually. See, now here it is being said, okay, Arjuna was known as a warrior, and if he leaves fighting, then all his resume becomes blank. Now, in spiritual life, there is a question of resume and other things and all that. There is a connection. The connection is that you see, bhakti progresses by service and reciprocation with the Lord. Now, what kind of service one can do very much relates to what one has. And therefore, what one has should not be given up. This is what the Lord is saying. Because, so what one already has, that can be offered to the Lord. And that offering and that service can purify the heart and take one very close to the Lord. But if one rejects what he has, but anyways, to reciprocate with Lord, one has to offer something. And that thing which one had expertise in is one is not offering that. So, but he has to offer something. So that something what he will offer now is that thing where one doesn't have expertise. So the offering will not be that impactful. So the Lord is telling Arjuna, you cannot back out. You have received so much blessings. After receiving so much blessings, now you don't do that particular seva. You cannot back out. That's bad. So after receiving the blessings, then one should not back out. So this is the point. Just like in Sri Ramayana, now Sugriva received blessings of Lord Ramachandra. Because Lord Ramachandra cleaned the pathway for him. He killed Lord Ramachandra, killed Vali. And now Sugriva was united with his wife. I mean, and he got back his kingdom, Sugriva. So now, but Sugriva became lost. And the Chaturmasya got over, but Sugriva was lost. He was never, he was not showing up to Lord Ramachandra. So Lord Ramachandra became angry. So now Sugriva may say, no, it's all okay. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyways, you will do what you want to do, You can do it yourself, I can send Hanuman with you, that's okay, Anyways, Hanuman is only going to be the man of match only, So let me be here. I have met my wife after a long time, We're just now 3 months together, And I can chant Hare Krishna here only. I'll do Mangal Arati also. I'll put a lamination, everything I'll do, So Sugriva can say all that, And I will not start chanting Ravana's name or I will chant Ram's name only, So Sugriva could say all that, is it not? He was feeling like that. He was not wanting to take it up. But Lord Ramachandra was very angry. His point was, now you cannot back out. Now you cannot back out. That's what happens. And many times people, they see things superficially and therefore they are very eager to take it up. But then when they understand the real vibrations which come up, then person wants to give it up. But now the point is, now giving up is not recommended. It's like that. Like sometimes we see second year devotee is very excited to become OC. Now suppose one becomes OC, then he becomes OC, he sees, oh, there's so much pressure, you know. OC means nobody else does seva, he has to do it, you know. Great, you know. Quite exciting if one is having right consciousness, but if not, then it's quite crushing. Then someone may say, oh, इतना heat आएगा सोचा नहीं था, है ना. I resign, है ना. So then it is said, नहीं, spiritual life एक ही direction में जाता है ना. If you go towards Krishna, you cannot step back, है ना. Like that. So that's the kind, you know, that's what Rasham was saying, the spiritual life, irreversible ratchet, you know. You get inspired and commit. Once you commit, no getting back, you know. Don't get inspired, still you can commit. Once you commit, no getting back, you know. So that's the point actually. So in this way, see, this is what is being told to Arjuna. So Arjuna was appointed as a devotee to serve for this mission, and that is why he has been blessed so profusely. Now he cannot step back. He has to render that service. Now he cannot step back. So therefore, the Lord is telling that okay, what one is or what one can do or what skills one has is not completely useless, because one can use those skills to offer service to Krishna. So the skills become the means to serve better in that sense, because one can offer the skills to Krishna. And if those skills are given up, the quality of the service goes down. That's the point. So therefore, a devotee does not shun everything material, rather he actually so devotee does not shun everything material, rather he offers everything material to the Supreme Lord. That is the point. See, this kind of thing happens to our devotees also. So many times what happens, I will give you an example. So many times our devotees, you know, they make up a big poster, pamphlet, campaign, marathon. Oh, we are building a big temple here. You know, this is going to be a amazing temple. This, that. It will be a community, thousands of devotees. This, that. Many people get inspired. They give donations. So a lot of money comes. Now after the money comes, the devotee's tempo goes down. You know, so he feels, oh, what is the headache? You know, कौन बनाएगा बड़ा मंदिर? ना, और रेंट के 2 रूम में रह लेते हैं, भक्ति तो कर ही सकते हैं, इज्जत ना. और भगवान को ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं, भगवान सिंपल हम्बल हैं, किधर भी रुक जाएंगे ना. तो गोस्वामी यूज्ड टू कीप द deities अंडर द ट्री, है ना. वी कैन टेक आउट समथिंग रेंटल. कौन इतना फाइट मारेगा, है ना. और पीपल समटाइम्स बिकम लाइक दैट. तो कभी कभी क्या होता है, लाइक दैट, है ना. So therefore, है ना, so that kind of a thing happens. So when that kind of a thing happens, then so it's easy for devotee. You know? So so that is the same kind of mentality. So hard selling, so you cannot step back so easily like that. So you cannot step back. Once we have taken the foot forward, we cannot step back. That's the idea. People will always speak of your infamy. For a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Yeah, both as a friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment. So the judgment is Lord saying, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people will call you bad names and you will, but that you will save your life by fleeing from the battlefield, my advice is that you had better do die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. So in no way the Lord is recommending uh, a devotee to become slackened. The Lord is always recommending struggle, and the Lord is saying, okay, even if you are crushed by that struggle, that sacrifice is also applauded. That sacrifice is applauded. But if there's no struggle, then people spit at it. Oh, so therefore, struggle to follow the instructions, struggle to please the Lord. That struggle to follow, struggle to please the Lord. See, the struggle to uphold the service to the Lord is glorified. Arjuna's behavior, not at all glorified. You see, Jatayu is glorified in the Shastras so rampantly. Why? Because Jatayu struggled and failed. He struggled and failed. Lord Krishna took him, Lord Ramachandra took him back to Garden. Is it not? He struggled and failed. So therefore, when there is struggle to please Krishna, there is no consideration of success or failure. Both are success. That's the idea. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? That Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he describes his compassion as befitting the non Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so called compassion. See, here it is being said, your enemies will describe you in so many unkind words and scorn your ability. So the enemies will not know what is our consciousness. They only know how do we act. They only know how we act and how we behave. And therefore, you see, it is important for a sadhaka to give a demonstration of the principles of bhakti in the vehicle of uh, mm, let's go ahead. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, take up with determination and fight. So, even though there was no certainty for victory on Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. Even being killed there, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets. 30th. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you will never incur any sin. So Lord Krishna now directly says Arjuna would fight for the sake of fighting because he desires a fighter. He desires a battle. Yeah. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness, so there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction of good and bad.
हाँ वेरी गुड हो गया ना हाँ
That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. So he who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction good and bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness, there is no longer, so he is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to everyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. So then Prabhupada is quoting here, Devarshi Bhutapta Ninam Pitranam. Anyone who is completely surrendered into Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, no longer debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, nor the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse. And the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. Yes. So the Lord is actually building up Arjuna, or actually taking Arjuna through a very solid foundation. So therefore we saw the Lord is reiterating that, okay, on the principles of honesty. Next the Lord is reiterating actually that the Lord is actually making a very solid foundation. Many times in bhakti, one can make it is possible to get overexcited and actually make a very lofty building without a foundation, so it will not sustain. So therefore the Lord is talking about foundations, that everything has to be built up when on these very solid foundations. So one should practice whatever material skills one has to offer it to Krishna. By that it gets purified. Yeah. By that it gets purified, and then one becomes, the habit of offering it to Krishna goes on becoming more intense. Now one may not need as such material things also, because one's heart has become purified to that level. So so here it was very clear that Arjuna is performing a service which Lord Krishna wants, and because now he is performing a service, the Lord is telling him uh, why to exactly uh, why to step back, why to hesitate. So you see, the activities of bhakti should be resting on very solid foundation. See, therefore Vedic times, this very solid foundation is stressed. The culture, the tradition, the sanskaras, all of them are not direct Krishna consciousness, but those foundations are very much stressed, because uh, without foundation, bhakti does not sustain for a long time. Okay, so here there is a question. There are two questions here. Okay, how does anybody come to know which war is based on dharma or not? Correct. This is a very important question. So, which war is based on dharma and which war is not based on dharma? Yes. So, how do anybody come to know which war is based on dharma and which war is not based on dharma? Yes. Uh, yeah, therefore, one of the very beautiful things which comes is that, you see, we are very sure that the war is based on dharma when we are fighting on behalf of Krishna. That is, and how from Varnashrama we fight on behalf of Krishna. So one of the beautiful things is that, okay, if whatever skills we have, we are using that to make something for Krishna, then we are very sure that this is the power of dharma. We're fighting on behalf of Krishna, then we are very sure. So, except for example, a civil engineer is making a temple of the Lord, so he's very sure he's fighting a war on dharma. Similarly, a doctor can make Bhaktivedanta Hospital, for Krishna, So like that, one is very sure. Actually, one is using one's skills to glorify Krishna. One is very sure that it is a path of dharma. Now, uh, now one is not directly working, on behalf of the temple. One is working in some other say organization. Then how do you know that those kind of endeavors are based on dharma? So yes, so therefore to see, what happens is that many times we'll see, generally what happens, many devotees feel that let me be a little more stable in this world, and then I can take Krishna consciousness with a rigorous fervor. Now thinking like this, one takes on a certain material trajectory. Now the nature of any material trajectory is that it is going to create pressure on our spiritual duties. So whatever be the trajectory, material trajectory, so the material trajectory was undertaken so that one can stabilize and then focus on bhakti. But the nature of material trajectory is that it will give pressure on our spiritual practices. That means, the pressure is coming. Oh, why should I wake up at 4 o'clock? The pressure is coming. How can I do preaching service the way I used to do in college days? How can I, do, 5 hour, 4 hour reading, hearing? How is it possible? So that pressure will come. Now one doesn't have to give now one should not give up the battle. So now the battle starts. The battle is in whatever setting we are in, to find space for Krishna. Then that is the dharma, the war of dharma. The war of dharma. That way. So therefore that struggle has to be there. The struggle has to be there. So therefore there are these two things, is it not? Now, so okay, for one who is evaluating which track to use, one has the option. One can choose a track which is direct service to Krishna. But whatever track one has already chosen, now where is the battle of dharma? The battle of dharma is to upkeep our spiritual fervor and not succumb to that pressure. That is the point. Okay. Okay, Krishna himself is talking about name and fame, etc., etc. Although devotee should not care for all this, it looks contradictory. Why is Krishna asking Arjuna to care about all these? Yeah, Lord is testing Arjuna. Ah, Lord is testing Arjuna. So the Lord is actually giving a solution to those who are materially attached. Ah, that okay, even if one has material attachments, still one should serve Krishna. So, and therefore the Lord is showing us that one who is on this path of uh, see, the point is, if one acts on dharma in his life for the sake of dharma or for the sake of karma, both are respectable. Because one is doing it for the sake of karma will very soon forget karma, and and what will remain is dharma, because karma is anyways flickering. So therefore, even such a person is respectable. That is why the Lord is establishing this principle. So uh, the principle is that add on the principles of dharma, whether for the sake of dharma, for the sake of karma. Now you see, text 38, the Lord is saying, just do it for the sake of dharma. So the Lord is already speaking about, you know, uh, the Lord is already speaking about just do it for the sake of dharma. But initially, one may not be able to do it just for the sake of dharma. One may be doing it for the sake of karma, which is also not bad. So, which will purify, and very soon the same practitioner will start performing activities for the sake of dharma. Right. So there are two drives. There are two drives, right? So there are two drives. So one who is materially attached, such a person performing the principles of dharma starts getting purified. One who is not so attached, then such a person is endeavoring, he gets super purified. So if we are attached to material things, then we get purified. And if we are not attached, we get super purified. Only thing is, one should ensure that this is dharma. That's the point. Only thing is, one should ensure that it is dharma. So, uh, and uh, yeah, and we ensure that dharma by upkeeping our practices actually. That if we upkeep our spiritual practice, then we are on the path of dharma. So the priority of dharma should not be reduced. Then our activities will become auspicious and purifying. So you see, just like Prabhupada says, pure devotee should be a perfect gentleman. Now, why would there need to be a perfect gentleman? One can be a ruffian and rowdy. If he is a pure devotee, how does it matter? Even if one chastises or abuses others, they are still going to get purified. Through Maharaj shot arrows and killed, and by his arrows the conditioned people, the fellows, they got liberated. I mean, they got purified by the touch of his arrows. So there is so this kind of so the point is dharma is a superset, And therefore, dharma is built over culture, over morality, everything. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, my devotee is a perfect gentleman. That means somebody is a devotee, he will not behave as a ruffian. Because that is the basic understanding of a devotee. So Prabhupada says, okay, one who is a devotee is also a human being. So he'll be compassionate. So such a person will not cheat. You know. Sometimes, so devotee cannot do anything in everything. A devotee has to do everything positive which everybody else does, and a devotee does much more. This is a devotee actually. So the sanskaras, the so okay, now we can say, okay, I'm chanting 16 rounds, so can I be awake whole night and sleep 6 hours in the day? No, not possible. Not good, not recommended. Why? Because now which modes we are in, or which modes we are inviting in our lives. That is the point. So devotee is quite this thing committed towards satoguni activities, because they help in one raising one's consciousness towards bhakti, and once one has touched bhakti, they help in holding on to that element of bhakti, and that becomes a very beautiful example for others. So therefore, and there is another factor. You see, the point is, suppose a devotee, in his upward journey, he is his, he puts his foot in a wrong place and falls off. Now the devotee falls off. Where will he fall off? So where will he fall off? You know, there is no, where will he fall off? So if one has not built a very robust foundation, one will fall off very badly, and he will actually fall off to animalism. Is it not? Therefore, culture, sanskara, sattva very important. So that even if a person slips, he will fall to sattva. From where going back to bhakti again will not be so difficult. But if there is no in between level, then one will fall down towards animalism or hellish life. And from there again coming back to bhakti will be impossible. Therefore, bhakti is like an acrobat doing all these feats in these air feats, jumping from one swing to the other. But one has to ensure that there is a net below, because if one falls, then one falls on the net very easily. He can climb up again. But if there is no net, one may fall and break his spine for a life, never be able to get up again. So therefore, every small aspect of bhakti is very important. And that is why no single detail of bhakti should be neglected. Because what can save us when we don't know? Indrudumna Maharaj memorized the shloka. He was not knowing. Literally knew that this shloka what he is memorizing, this shloka will save him in his next life. You see? He might be just giving a Bhakti Shastri exam just to get a certificate, to get Brahman initiation, with no heart at all for that shloka. But that shloka, even if it is there in Bhakti Shastri exam, that shloka is what saved him. So, should a devotee, a pure devotee, memorize shlokas, or Bhakti Yoga is about. So you see the point. Every small detail is what adds on. Every small detail is what adds on, and that's why the bhakti should have a very robust foundation. What is our choice and what is not our choice both have to be understood. No. Like say Radhesham Prabhu, some devotee says, oh, I have got a great renunciation and great vigor and great, I just need the permission, and I will, leave everything, all material and join temple. So then Raisham would ask, who are you? He says, oh, I am first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Raisham says, no, no joining. Is it not? Why? Because one cannot jump. One can go fast, but one has to follow the trajectory of emancipation. One cannot jump. So Varnashrama sets the trajectory. One can go fast. Mahaprabhu was a grihastha, but he was not a grihastha for 80 years. One can go fast, no problem. But one has to go through the trajectory. That's the point. So what is in our hand is going fast or slow. But one cannot really jump or mess up. One cannot jump the in between staircases without ensuring that one has solid foundation of it. That's the point. So this is the point. And therefore Mahatma Prabhu says that teaching, Mahatma Prabhu actually is very humble, and he says that teaching, Prabhupada taught him that, okay, we are not going to give sannyas to irresponsible grihasthas, So one who is not responsible as a grihastha, how can he take up sannyas? That was Prabhupada's argument, like that. But that's a teaching for all of us actually. That okay, what trajectory one is in, one has to be very responsible on that trajectory, and then one can, move forward like that. So that's the point, So everybody may like to be the temple president, but but unless one gets an EX grade in deity backup and vessel washing, and sabji cutting, and chapati making, and floor mopping, unless one gets that grade, how can one promote himself, or how can one directly jump to be a temple president? Because temple president means if need be, he is ready to he should do everything. So he should be trained in every trajectory, and that's how he is purified, and then one rises. That's the whole point. So one cannot give up the trajectory. Varnashrama means fixity to the trajectory. One can speed up, but not give up. One can speed up, but not give up. That's the point. The struggle. So the you see this struggle. So from whatever point of material conditioning one is in, when one gives priority to these principles of dharma, these principles of dharma are going to percolate in the entire existence of such a follower. So the elevation is automatic. The progression is automatic. The progression is not artificial. That's the point. Therefore, Prabhupada would be strong and clear that okay, devotees are told to chant 16 rounds. They should chant 16 rounds and do service, and not one day think that 16 I am more advanced. I'll chant 32. I'll chant 64. No. Prabhupada didn't encourage that. You see, Japataka Maharaj says he was sitting and chanting 32 rounds, and Prabhupada said, "Hey, what are you doing in the temple?" And he says so many times he speaks this. And then Prabhupada told him, yeah, no, you should chant 16 rounds and whole day you should go for Sankirtan. Not that you sit in the temple and chant extra rounds. No. That is not recommended. So one does service, and that purifies the heart. And the increase of rounds will be natural and automatic by the power of the service, like that. But it cannot be artificially done. That's the whole point. So one can never jump, one can only speed up. So somebody says, no, I want to read 6 hours Bhagavatam. Impossible it is actually. So therefore, better read Kota, other time do Seva. By doing Seva, slowly heart purified. Then naturally the taste will increase. And then what will happen? The Seva will also increase and Sadhana will also increase. Like you see, so many Maharajas, they chant 32 rounds every day. But look at how much service they do. They are not sitting in Vrindavan in a kutir, only coming for darshan, on every Ekadashi or something like that, or every Dwadashi, and okay, every Dwadashi of Shukla Paksha, the Acharya is going to come out. No, you see proper disciples, how much service they do, how much preaching they do, but they are chanting. They're chanting extra rounds also. So any such thing like that. So therefore one cannot, these principles are laid out very nicely by the acharyas. So whether it is varnashrama or the principles of sadhana, they're laid out by the acharya, they're laid out by the shastras. So we should follow these trajectories very diligently. Sometimes devotees feel, oh, I have transcended the stage of filling sadhana card. So actually these trajectories are meant to help us to create a very solid foundation. So that is the point actually. And one can speed up, but one cannot overdo it or outdo it. That's the point. And one following that trajectory, automatically it ensures that the Krishna conscious substance is built in one's heart. The Krishna conscious substance is built in one's heart. So that's how this beautiful section, that's what this beautiful section highlights. And then as we saw in 38, uh, uh, the Lord is giving a hint that, okay, now Arjuna, I have not just told you to do any mundane duty, this is my desire. So that's the point. And that will take us to the next level of application of Atma Tattva Gyan, which is Nishkam Karma Yoga, which is the boundary between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So that we will take it up in our next class, from text 39 to 53. Do we have any questions? Okay, so let's stop here for today. So we'll take up Nishkam Karma Yoga in our next class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantha Bhagavad Gita ki jai.